In 1769, on a small, rugged island in the vast Mediterranean, a child was born who would one day bend the fate of Europe to his will. But at that moment, no one knew his name. No one could have imagined that he would command nations, rewrite the pages of history, and rise higher than any soldier who had come before him. His name would become a legend: Napoleon Bonaparte. Far from the glittering cities of France, on the wild island of Corsica, a young boy wandered through narrow streets and untamed hills. He wasn't born into power or privilege. He was born into struggle. His father was a minor noble with loyalty to France, and his mother, Letizia, was a woman of iron will and fierce pride, raising her children with unwavering discipline. As a child, Napoleon was quiet, stubborn, and burned with a fierce internal ambition. While other boys played games, he devoured books on history and dreamed of ancient empires. He would whisper to himself, "Someday, they will remember my name." At the tender age of 9, Napoleon left Corsica for the first time. He arrived in mainland France, a world away from home, where his thick accent immediately marked him as an outsider. Other students mocked him, calling him the Corsican. But instead of breaking under the pressure, he hardened like steel. He threw himself into his studies: mathematics, military tactics, and history. At night, while others slept, he would read about the lives of Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great, imagining himself walking in their footsteps. Meanwhile, France was burning. The revolution had begun. The old order was collapsing in on itself, and a new, uncertain world was being born in blood and fire. Napoleon, now a young and eager artillery officer, found himself thrust directly into the heart of the chaos. In the port city of Toulon, where rebels had seized control, he orchestrated and led a brilliant artillery assault that shocked even his superiors. He didn't just win the battle, he announced his arrival on the world stage. All the way in Paris, they took notice. The name Bonaparte began to spread like wildfire. In just a few short years, Napoleon's strategic brilliance became undeniable. At the remarkable age of 26, he was made commander of the army of Italy. He rode at the front of his starving ragtag soldiers, inspiring them not with promises of money or rank, but with a powerful vision of what they could achieve together. He told them, "Soldiers, you are hungry and naked, but I will lead you to glory and riches." And he delivered on that promise. Battle after stunning battle d'Arcole, Rivali he achieved the impossible, and the world began to whisper his name not just with curiosity, but with awe. In 1798, Napoleon set his sights even higher. He set sail for Egypt, chasing a grand vision of an empire that would rival Rome itself. He sought glory, knowledge, and above all, destiny. But in the vast, unforgiving sands of Egypt, he faced both triumphant victory at the pyramids and crushing disaster at the Battle of the Nile. Yet, even in mixed results, his fame continued to grow. Back in Europe, the monarchies trembled at the mention of his name. He returned to a France that was once again in turmoil. The revolution had devoured its own heroes, and the people, weary of bloodshed and chaos, longed for stability and order. Napoleon returned, silent and watchful, assessing the situation. Then, with a swift and decisive political stroke, he seized power in 1799, declaring the beginning of a new era. "The French Republic," he announced, "is reborn under my leadership." By 1804, the boy from Corsica stood in the grand, hallowed halls of Notre Dame Cathedral. The entire world watched as he took the emperor's crown not from the hand of the Pope, as was tradition, but placing it upon his own head in a stunning display of self-made power. He was now Emperor Napoleon I under his command. The French Empire expanded across Europe, from the mountains of Spain to the gates of Moscow. Every kingdom bowed, and every rival army fell before his grand army, but power, as it always does, demands a heavy price. In 1812, Napoleon embarked on his most ambitious campaign, the invasion of Russia, but this time, fate itself turned cold. The brutal Russian winter, with its relentless snow, starvation, and disease, swallowed his army whole. What began as a triumphant march of nearly 1,000,000 men ended in a devastating, silent retreat. Only a fraction of his soldiers ever returned. Seeing his weakness, the rest of Europe rose up against him. The seemingly invincible emperor finally fell. He was exiled first to the island of Elba, and then, after a brief and dramatic return to power, to a lonely, wind-swept rock in the middle of the Atlantic, St. Helena. Far from the world he had once ruled, the man who had commanded kings now spent his days staring out at the endless, crashing waves. He was heard to whisper, "Glory is fleeting, but obscurity is forever." On May 5, 1821, the fire that had burned so brightly finally went out. But his name, Napoleon Bonaparte, still blazes across the annals of history. He redrew the map of Europe, rewrote the rules of military strategy, and inspired countless generations. Some call him a tyrant, others a visionary genius. But one truth remains undeniable. He rose from nothing. He dreamed on a scale that no one else dared, and he had the audacity to try and shape the world by his will alone. From a boy in Corsica to the Emperor of France, his story reminds us all that greatness is never simply given. It is taken. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more cinematic history. Ring that bell so you never miss a new episode, and let us know in the comments which legend should we bring to life next. Thanks for watching.